What's up, guys? As requested, we got the S20 FE versus the S24 FE. Be sure to put those requests down. I want to get through the rest of these comparisons at least by next week. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. I think this could be a pretty good upgrade for the most part. The S20 FE is still a very popular phone, and it's a phone that I like to recommend to people who are on a tight budget. You can find this phone legit like $130 on eBay. It's a very cheap phone, and what I like about this phone, still getting security patches, and you still have the SD card support, which is something that we're seeing less and less as the years go on. So let's go ahead and jump into it. A Galaxy S24 FE is quite expensive these days. It's going to cost you around $650. These usually fall in price. Give it like a couple months, they'll fall in price. You'll see the phone probably around like $500. So let's kick it off with the hardware here. So let's take a look and see what we're working with. The S24 is definitely the bigger device here for sure. And you'll definitely notice it when you hold it in the hand. It just feels overall bigger because we have a bigger screen on this phone now. What you will notice is that it definitely feels a lot more premium since we are using a glass back, and the S20 FE, it has a metal side, but it is using a plastic back. And probably the biggest thing that you'll notice here is the updated design. The S20 FE definitely looks like a older flagship for sure. Now, when it comes to the overall specs on the hardware, they're both IP68 dust and water resistant, which is very good. And they both feel really good to hold in the hand. I think the S20 FE is actually a lot more comfortable to hold. You kind of have like this sharp kind of scratchy feeling on the S20 FE. But the palm, it feels good on both of these phones. So overall for the hardware, you're getting the updated design, and that's pretty much it. You're not really getting much, and you are again losing the SD card support with the S24. Alright, so let's talk about the display. So I want to talk about the S24 FE's display first here, and how to fix the vividness problem. So this display was not vivid when it came out of the box here. So what we're going to do is you're going to go into the display settings, click on vivid, click on advanced settings, and then this was all the way back here. For some reason it wasn't even in the middle. Slide it all the way up, and then you'll get the same vividness that you will get on the older Samsung flagships. I don't know why Samsung does this. Maybe the way that they have it stock is how a lot of, I guess it's the more natural look, I guess, for the screens. But if you're a Samsung fan, you're gonna like the more colorful screens. That's what Samsung is known for. So that's all you have to do to fix the kind of dull display on the S24 FE. It was the same problem with the S24 Ultra as well too. So I'm glad that that's there, so you can change that. Now, as far as the colors go, I would say they pretty much look identical now, which is very good. So it matches the older displays in terms of color. As far as the specs go, you have a 6.7-inch display on the S24 FE. It is a dynamic AMOLED. It's 120 Hz HDR10 plus. You have a 1900 nits peak brightness on here. It's 1080p 385 for the PPI, and it has the Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on here. You have a 6.5-inch display on the S20 FE. It is a Super AMOLED. It is 120 Hz HDR10 plus, 1080p 407 for the PPI. This is running the Gorilla Glass 3. So overall, you do have a updated display in terms of the overall max brightness. So if you're outdoors, you will really notice that you can see the S24 FE a lot easier as well too. What's crazy is the bezels are almost kind of the same on here, which is a little bit disappointing. So you guys can see that. So I would say the display upgrade is there's not really much of an upgrade here besides the size difference. So you would have to make your mind up if you want a bigger phone. But the real upgrade is the max brightness. So this does get noticeably brighter in direct sunlight. But that's about it. I would say screen quality is not that different, and overall the bezels are actually not really that different at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's talk about the specs here a little more. So on the S20, we got the last major OS update was Android 13. This phone is running the Snapdragon 865 chipset, one of the most efficient and just very good chipsets. I'm always impressed with this chip. So we also have SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, 6 gigs of RAM on here on the base model. So we do have a much faster chipset here now, the Exynos 2400E. It is 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. You can see the score difference here. You are getting a much faster phone when it comes to the overall benchmarks. You can get into a little app opening test here. Check out the animations here. So one of the things to notice here is that you are coming to the end of the lifespan as far as security patches with the S20 FE, which again, I always tell people is not really that big of a deal, but you aren't going to get any more, software updates. This is going to get 7 years of major OS updates, so that could be convincing for you guys who are thinking about updating. You also do have the Galaxy AI features on the S24 FE. As far as speed and animations go, you guys can see it's pretty much on par with each other, but it's definitely a lot, a little bit snappier on the S24, but I don't think it's really that noticeable, at least not to me at least. So let's try Geometry Dash. So these phones, they feel pretty much on par with speed, so that's what I was talking about, guys. This 865 chip is really, really impressive. So when we get into video games and stuff like that, the upgrade is definitely here for the most part, because this chipset is overall just going to give you faster performance and overall for heavier games like Genshin and stuff like that. But like I said, you have to really be, a competitive mobile gamer. You can see we've got PUBG running at 90 frames here. But this chipset has been pretty impressive. It's not really heating up or anything like that. And it's been a pretty good experience for the most part. But the issue with this is that the S20 FE also can play, at pretty good frame rates as well too. You can see we got HDR Extreme here. And it does a pretty good job with PUBG, even though we're at 60 frames. So I would say, if you are a competitive gamer, then it would be worth it if you are somebody who really plays games. If you don't really play games, you could easily come in here, play PUBG, at HDR Extreme, smooth 60 frames. You could play Call of Duty fine on here. And then you also don't have to give up your SD card support and stuff like that. You can expand the storage and, put more content on here. So it really depends on where you're at in terms of the gaming experience, because the overall CPU performance here is not really that big of a deal if you're not really into gaming like that. So I need to briefly touch on the Galaxy AI stuff. The AI stuff is not really my favorite thing about phones right now. This is the direction we're moving into. You don't have, of course, any AI features on the S20 FE, but if this stuff interests you, then I'll go ahead and kind of bring it up and kind of show you. This is the kind of stuff that you can do on here. They have a lot of cool stuff, and since you have 7 years of updates, they're going to be adding a lot more AI stuff. So it's something that you have to kind of, see if you are interested in. The AI stuff is kind of useful, but they have stuff on here that I just never use. But it really depends on, you as a person. But you do have all of this stuff that you could take advantage of. So a lot of people are going to be upgrading for these cameras here. So on the S24, you do have a 50 megapixel standard and 8 megapixel telephoto. It does 3 times optical zoom, and then you can go all the way up to 30 times zoom. You also do have on here a 12 megapixel ultra wide on here as well, and then you also can shoot an 8K 30. You also do have on here a selfie camera at 10 megapixels that can shoot in 4K 60. Now on the S20 FE here, you have a 12 megapixel standard and 8 megapixel telephoto. This one does 3 times optical zoom, and you can also go up to 30 times zoom on here. And then you also do have 4K 60 video on here with a 32 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. So check out these side-by-side stills. Let me know what you guys think. we got the speakers at max volume. We'll start with the S20. Wow, I never noticed how flat the S20 FE was. Yeah, you could barely hear the bass compared to on the S24. So definitely a speaker upgrade for sure. The S20 FE doesn't sound horrible quality wise, it's just lacking in the bass department. Yeah, so definitely a better speaker, which is crazy because this speaker is not even that good. But let's go ahead and talk about the biometrics here. Face unlock feels the same, and also the fingerprint scanners, they're both still the optical ones, so they work the same. I don't really have an issue with it. Alright, so let's talk about the battery life experience on both of these phones. Alright, so the battery life is actually much better on the S24 FE by a lot actually. Standby time is much better, so that's one of the things I always pay attention to. Standby time is much better on the S24 FE, and overall your screen on time is going to be better. So on this phone you do have a 4700 milliamp hour battery on the S24 FE versus the 4500 milliamp hour battery, so you are getting a bigger battery, and overall this chipset seems to be more efficient, so your standby time and screen on time is just going to be better. You also do have basically the same charging speeds at 25 watts, and then you have your wireless and reverse wireless charging on here as well too. And yes, the S20 FE, for those who are asking, who are asking, has Samsung desktop support. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That pretty much wraps up the comparison. So overall, it is a pretty decent upgrade for the most part. The biggest con here is that you're going to be giving up the SD card support. And also, it really depends on what you thought about the improvements that are here, the design improvements. And then we also got to talk about the screen improvements. Were kind of minimal. The biggest thing for me is actually the chipset is a lot better on here, and you get more software updates. But besides that, I mean, if you are on the fence, I would say keep your S20 FE and just kind of use it till, you know, it doesn't work anymore at this point, because it's still such a great phone. I don't really see too many flaws with it, but it comes down to also to the camera comparison. That is a big one for a lot of people. What you thought about the pictures. Do you see the S20 FE? Are the pictures getting a bit dated for you? You have to kind of make that decision. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.